Hi, my name's Mike. I'm a full-time traveler and ham radio operator. I activate amazing parks all over the United States. Join the adventure and see what's next.
Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
That traveler has
I just do things.
This is a huge, beastly, bulging man. Plates were from Kansas.
And just like that, it's the next day. So here's what we've got. I've got the LMAX stand from Lido Radio Products for the laptop. And then I have this radio mount, LMAX radio mount, that's gonna fit both my 891 and my FTM 6000 and the microphones for both radios. And I'm actually gonna install the mobile mounts against this wall. So the radios will sit right there and I'll have good access to everything. No cords will have to reach too far. And you know, they're gonna get powered by batteries that are sitting right down here along the base. So that's gonna work just fine. So I just have to put these in one at a time. I'm gonna put the laptop in first. It's gonna sit about so. I've got it set so it's about the right height. I just gotta position it. It's gonna sit on this shelf and I'm gonna position it such that it's right where I need it. My operating position here is determined obviously by this here. I've also got Rosie's bed right down here. So I'm actually over a little bit too far to give that room. If I start scooting over this way, then it starts scrunching the bed up against this closet door here, and then it can't open. So this is what I have to work with, such as life in an RV. So I'm gonna sit a little off center in the space here, but that's okay, because I'm gonna have it basically in two segments, a right and a left. This will be laptop and a work screen, an extra work screen here, and then I'll have radios down here, and then another screen up there, probably, you know, like I might run Ham Clock or something like that on this screen here. And both these screens will probably need to kind of tilt up in this space a little bit, I think. But then in the end, you know, I'll have three screens and that'll be great. Plus the radio faces right here. But I can't plan any of that out until I start getting these, you know, these crazy shaped things in here. So I can't really plan anything else until I get this done. And this is really the first piece. And I kind of got it set here so it would fit at the right height. When I first saw this thing and the size of it, I thought, man, that's not going to reach up high enough to get the laptop up high. And I was even wondering if I was going to have to mount it up on this wall. But as it ends up, it will sit on that shelf. And I probably could almost put it on the floor, you know, because we sit more upright in chairs than we do in our vehicles. So I was a little worried that this wouldn't be tall enough and it would have to come up the wall. But this shelf, it sits pretty good. And as you can see, I have it adjusted such that it does not, you know, it does not sit at its full height. So it still works really, really well. It's just going to sit right there. I don't want this part to come out any farther than this vanity. I don't want it to come out into this space. There's an adjustment bar right here that I might modify that to make it a little bit shorter because it sticks out into the space a little bit too much, and we're gonna bump that, or you know, clothes are gonna get hung up on it. I think that'll be a little bit of a pain. So I may replace this. It threads into the part that clamps down. It clamps the top onto the top of the strut. So I may just find some other little bolt that I can put in there and tighten it up that way instead of having that handle stick out. You know, in a vehicle, it's not such a big deal, and it might be convenient in order to be able to adjust it, but that's how that is gonna sit. So I've just got to mark where I need to put the lag screw into the shelf. I think it would be right there, and I've got my awl here. Okay, now I need to slide it this way a bit so it's centered on me. It'll be about right there, but I really didn't want to sit too flat. Kind of, so it'll be like so. Maybe a hair more to the right. Okay, I think that's good. Some of you are probably thinking, and have been thinking all along the way, you guys are crazy for getting rid of storage in an RV. But here's the deal. Storage in an RV is not a volume problem. It is a weight problem. And most 40-foot fifth wheels that you go shop for today, unless they're 20,000-pound RVs, and even then I question it. Most of them when we bought were 16,000-pound RVs. That's the max weight you could build them up to. But a lot of the new RVs when we were shopping had so much storage in them. If you filled it the way we do now, you're going to be grossly overweight. You only have 2,000 pounds of gear you can pack into a lot of RVs. And that's going to add up really quick, especially when you talk about you gotta have water. You know, you might have 100 gallons of water. Well, there's 800 pounds right there. So that only leaves you about, you know, maybe 12 to 2,200 pounds of gear you can keep. And if you're filling these storage spaces, you're going to get to that weight limit way before you fill your storage. So no, getting rid of storage in an RV is not a terrible deal. The biggest pain for us, for my wife and I, wasn't relocating all the clothes that were in here. We just kept fewer clothes. We selected clothes that we didn't wear very often or not at all and got rid of those, left them in storage so we could fit it all in our closet space that's behind me here, behind these mirrored doors. The hardest part was the surface, because we just have a nasty habit in this family. If we have, all four of us are this way, if we have a surface, we want to keep stuff on it. And it just becomes a mess of stuff. And now we have to figure out where to put all that stuff, which is the way it should operate anyway. That stuff should be elsewhere. There's some growing pains here, but I think overall it's a win for us. All right, I'm going to get a drill so I can put this lag screw. I've got this guy right here. That's going to go through, you know, it's not too long. It will poke through on the bottom, but I got to get it down far enough that it will fit into, you know, this is the base. I'll hold that in front of the window. Do I have that in the right place? Right. Oh boy, that's got a delay. Yeah, right here. So the bolt sits right in here. This little clamp, you know, I'll tighten that bolt down. I'll put a big washer on it and tighten it down such that it holds the whole thing into place. So this is made to bolt, to fit around the bolt that holds your seat down to your floorboard. So you'd loosen that, slide this in there, and then crank it back down, maybe with a washer in there too, to make sure you get a good purchase on it. And that will hold this whole thing into place in your vehicle. And the nice thing is it's got this clamp at the bottom. You can undo that and the base will come right out. So you can, if you have this installed in your vehicle and it's in your way, you're going to have you know, multiple passengers one day, and your person sitting in your passenger seat doesn't like this thing sitting there, you can just remove it. Or for me, when I have all this set up for radio, I can put an extra base out in the truck. And if I want, if I'm going to go on a rove for a you know, full day or a couple days, I can just, you know, unhook all the wires and carry this out to the truck and set it in the truck and clamp it in the truck if I have one of these extra little bases. And then I just hook the radio up to it and I'll have a nice operating position if I'm going mobile in the truck, doing a POTA rove or something like that. So that's pretty cool. You'll notice I've dressed a little lighter today. It was it was kind of brutal in here yesterday. The sun hits this wall right here and this room just absorbs heat. I got a couple fans going. Apologize if there's background noise. Maybe I'll cover it up with music. But whew, it feels so much nicer in here today. And that's why I'm barely dressed. But enough talking. Let's get to work. Wow, that is a dull bit. Wow, that was easier. Try not to whack my backdrop there. A black washer would be cool. Everything's here so black, that silver just sticks out. Whew, that is solid. solid. My impression is this whole rig is just going to be really solid. Okay, drop that on and clamp him in. And there we go. There it sits. Yeah. That is pretty darn solid. Seems a little crooked, but there's no way. It must be the way that base is sitting. I may have to wedge something under the base, because it seems like it's leaning a little bit that way. And the way the base sits like this, it seems like it's leaning. So I might try to wedge something underneath there to kind of straighten it out a little bit. And maybe that takes some of the wobble out of it too. I wonder if I should put my computer on it. I probably should. I should get my laptop and put it on here, get it all set and put it on here, and then decide where the radio bit's gonna sit. All right, did I leave myself enough room? The mouse, I did. I think I'm gonna build a mouse shelf right here. It sits about the right height so I can sit here and have somewhere to mouse too. All right, kind of getting this guy set here. The instructions on these things are okay. It's helped me out in a few different ways, but a lot of it you just gotta, it seems like you just gotta kind of toy with it and figure it out. You know, the pictures are black and white and they're printouts and they're just sufficient. I'd call them sufficient. Okay, so that's in there pretty good. You can actually get this locked down pretty tight. Okay. And there's that. The keys are so far back there, it makes me want to sit a little bit closer here, but that works okay. This tilt is going to drive me crazy. The whole thing's kind of tilting that way. I don't know if you can see this angle, but I definitely can. But in any case, there's that. That gives me just enough room to mouse in here. I might have gotten that a little too close there. So we'll see if I have to adjust that in the future. But you know, my chair is where it needs to be, so I think it'll work. I think it'll work. So now, the fun stuff. The radio. The radio faces. First thing I have to figure, and this just takes a lot of fiddling to get right. To get that laptop set where it was took a lot of fiddling, and that's just part of the process. To get it set where it's in just the right spot. So allow some time to sit here and make minor adjustments to get it exactly where you want it. This is going to be a little bit easier because I need more of its full reach to get this up high. And I think I'm going to have it sit like, boy, this battery shelf is really coming in handy. Really coming in handy, because that's where I'm probably going to end up attaching both of these. And I think if I have it right there, that's pretty good. Maybe a little closer so I can reach it better. I need to scoot up a little more, it seems. I want this fairly close so I can reach it easy. And I'd like it to be the same focal distance as the TV screen. So I think about the middle of that shelf right there. That's where it's going to be, right there. Okay, so this is the same base I used for the laptop I'm going to use for the radio. See, it slides right up in there and it can rotate more freely if I unclamp it. It rotates around. Put a little bit of tension on it with that thumb screw there, and then you can just clamp it down like so, and then it's fixed. So I have it loose so I can spin it around about right there. The faces are going to sit in front of this a little bit, so I want it to be kind of back some. Right there, like so. Oh, I think that's the spot. Maybe I'll move it out just a hair. Like so, right there. I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit too close once I actually put the faces on there. Okay, I think that's it right there. Mark that spot. Sharp bit makes a lot of difference. Yep, that shelf down here is really coming in handy. And that ended up in completely the wrong spot. Oh, I know why. I got this thing facing the wrong way. Should have the base swinging around the other side. There we go. That'll work better. Again, I gotta kind of fiddle with them. You gotta get the position right. You gotta get the tension right. A lot of stuff to get right here. The only thing really goofy about this whole setup was these mic hangers, and Mike K8MRD mentioned it in his video. They have these little screw holes in them, but they don't line up with the screw holes in this plate. They don't line up with the screw holes with this plate. It's a little weird, but they do have adhesive stuff, 3M adhesive, so I just use that, and it's fine. So now the fun part, I'll attach the faces to it and we'll see what this all looks like. All right, I got the little, sorry about the lighting, it kind of is what it is here, and I'm backlit horribly by the window. It is what it is, but I got the face here for the FTM 6000. It's got a little threaded receiver on the back that this fitting is going to hopefully thread right into. And then this is now the socket that fits over the ball that's on this plate, and there's a little ring that tightens down on it, and all is well. Okay, so he kind of sits right there, and I'm gonna get this plate off of here, and get the face for the 891. There's the body for the 6000. This is the 891 that I've only got one, and this is the one that I'm going to use for portable also. So I will have to remove this to go portable into the field. But that's how he fits on there. Now, after having worked out of the two, what is this? Nanook, the Nanook cases. After working on these two Nanook cases this year, I have really fallen in love with having the faces on these adjustable little balls here that I can move them around on. I really like that. You know, when I had this set up, however this was going to end up, it was going to be on something that I could adjust here. So these faces are pointing right at mine, face to face. And no more of these days where the radio is sitting flat way down here and the screen's like pointed at my hip. Now I can see it. I got easy access to all of it. I'm having to reach a little bit because I'm scooted back some, but that is looking pretty good. I don't see any tilt issues with that. I'm going to try to fix that here. I have been typing up here. This has been the height that my keyboard's been at, because right here was the surface of the desk. So I'm up here, and that's not a great position. This is so much better. Kind of that natural armrest height. So, after all this, Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the bodies of the radio to the backing. And for the 6000, it'll be easy because I have the, you know, it's got that click-in system. So I can just attach that mobile mount on the wall, and then this thing will just drop and click in. And then if I want to take it out to use it on the satellite operation, or I want to run mobile out of the truck, I can take this out and, you know, potentially have an additional mount in the truck that I can drop it in and use it from there. Or if I'm, you know, got my satellite rig around my belt, I can have an extra one right there. Maybe I need 2 extra ones. But a couple of those mounts would be, at least one more would be cool. Now, the 891 is a little more complicated because he just attaches with these, it got, you know, bolts that go through these through holes. Is that showing okay? I need it up higher. There you go. See these holes it's got to go through. There's no way to just drop this in. You know, it's going to sit against the wall flat like so. And I need the radio to be able to drop in. But I can't do that. And I don't want to have to hold it in place and thread those in to hold it while it's in the RV here. I just want to be able to drop it in. So what I've decided I'm going to do is I'm going to notch. I'm going to get my Dremel and I'm going to notch one of these holes out. Am I getting that above the window? There we go. I'm going to notch one of these holes out. So if I have the bolt just sticking out of the radio, it will just rest. It'll hit those notches and it'll just rest there. And if I want to, I could tighten them up then at that point to really snug it in, or I could just leave it and just have it sitting that way. And I'll just have the bolts on the bottom out. You know, whichever bolts would go into these, I just won't have them in. It'll just be the 2, like towards the top or the bottom. I haven't decided which way I'll have it sitting in here, but that way it'll just drop in like so. And then I can take it with me in the field. I don't need an extra one of these because I don't use these in any of my other setups. The radio fits so tightly in that red Nanook case, it doesn't need to be mounted or attached in there. I might just, when I finish that setup, I might just glue a little piece of foam to the top lid just to add a little pressure to hold it in place. Otherwise it sits in there just fine. All right, so that's the next step. Okay, so I think what I've decided, after having sat at this for a little bit, is I'm going to mount both radios down low here on either side of the radio face mount. And I'm going to mount them low enough that the little short power cords coming off of them can reach a battery sitting right there. Because I've got little short cords on both of them. I'll have to put a power adapter on that one, but that's no problem. So I think I'll put the 6000 right here. I'll put the 891 over here, so that's a little easier to get to. Although, I'm thinking I'm going to end up with a shelf right here. I think that might be what happens. If that's the case, I just want the 891 where I can get it off easier. Because this is simple, it just drops right in. But the 891 is the one I'm going to be getting in and out of here more often. And I want that to be easier to get to, easier to access. And while this seems really open right now and seems like a good spot, I think I'm going to end up putting a shelf in right here. So I get a little bit of some extra surface area. And if that's the case, I might even do something like I put it this one sideways down here so it can slide out sideways. Or maybe I'll put it this way so it'll slide out away from the pole like so, and then the 891 will sit in here like so, and that'll be the easier one to get to because it's going to have to drop in. This one, the slide out is so slick. Is that how it works? Yeah, so it'll go out that way. The clicker will be on the bottom because it doesn't work this way. Does it? No, it doesn't. So the clicker will have to be on the bottom. That's not great Maybe I'll have it over here like so. So it can fit like that. And then it'll pull out this way and it's gettable. I won't use this one as much. I gotta look and see what cables I've got too to reach the phase. Hopefully, I know I've got a long cable for one of them. I just can't remember which one. All right. A few other things to look up here. I research what I've got, then I'll put the radios in. I have decided that the 6000 is going to go over here. And I need to mount this 2.5 inches above this lip of the shelf here. It's about right there. I need to get two scientific. Mark the center of this top right hole. Clicker on the left side. There's my mark. Upper right hand hole. Use this vertical slots for a guide here. Hold it level. Put in the second one. All right, a couple more for insurance. Okay. That is the, oops, that's the 6000. Mounted. Booyah. And I did find that I have a nice extension that came with the FTM 6000. I do not have one for the 891. So I have no way of attaching the face to the radio. So there's something I'm gonna have to remedy soon. Unfortunately, there's no way for me to really run it in this location until I have that. So that's kind of a bummer. But that's where that goes. I'm gonna put the 891 on the other side there. I did elect to put it on the other side, just with all the logistics involved with this being a full slide out. It's better over here. I'll put the 891 here. It's gonna actually be easier by the nature of its mount to put in and out, but I've got to modify that mount first. I'll do that and then we'll come hang it up in here. Shirt down. There we go. Broke through. Just got to clean it up, grind a little bit more material away, but that's the idea. Well, so that one turned out pretty nice, pretty neat. This one, a little bit uglier, but it'll work with those two sitting like so. Now that radio, the bolts in that radio are gonna be able to drop right in and hang on that wall. That's the goal. And I think I'm gonna have to find a little, I'm gonna have to have a little screwdriver just dedicated, just sits right there for tightening and loosening that. So it's just there all the time. And that's what its role is. So it's just in there kind of snug. Otherwise, I think if I loosen those enough that they can just sit on here, I think they'll come loose again. I think as the RV shakes and rattles, this will eventually just, it'll work that bolt out, and then the radio will just drop through. So I think that's how I'll handle it. I'll just at some point buy an extra little Phillips head screwdriver to sit on the shelf. That's it. It's pretty much ready to mount. Just cleaned up a little bit and he'll be good. And those washers kind of get in the way. There we go. It's a little klutzier than I thought it would be. But there we go. Just slide in, slide out. And little washers on there that are kind of mucking with it a little bit. But that's the idea. I'll have to perfect it, I suppose. Because this washer has got to go on the outside. And they just get caught. No matter what you do, they want to go right up against the body, or one of them wants to go up against the body of the radio, and it doesn't want to go in. All right, so that's gonna take a little bit of some finagling, because that is way harder than I want it to be. All right, so now I figure out how high I want this mount. I want that cable nice and low. So let's see. I'm gonna have to measure it to the base. I'll have to do it on this side. I need a little more tape. Okay. Oh, he's a lot bigger than the 6000. Lots bigger. 100 watts makes a difference. Okay, that was 2.5 inches. This is 4.5 inches high. 4.5 inches. Man, my cable might almost be long enough. Maybe if I switch those faces around, it would work. The cable that I have is this long. All right, take the radio back out of here. That part's easy. It is kind of a tight fit on that radio. It really squeezes it. I'll probably scratch up the side of my body, but I'm not the type to care about that too much. If my field gear is looking too neat and clean and tidy, I don't like that. That means something that should be happening isn't happening. I'm not getting out enough. I'm not doing enough with it. If your gear's clean, what the heck's wrong with you? Four and a half inches. I'll have to be too exact. All right, my Volta died, so we missed a little bit there, but all you did was miss me mount the 891 up here to the wall, and I was hoping that the cable that runs up to the control head was long enough to reach the radio since it's so close, but it's just, I mean, we're that far short. So, but it's just a regular RJ45. I think I can run into town into Yuma and pick one of these up at Best Buy. Just get one that's 2-3 feet long. They'll probably have one that's 6, you know, won't be the smallest, but then I can run it right up here to that face, and I'll be ready to rock on this, because I've already got an antenna coming in. I've got an antenna cable coming through the slide over on that wall behind you that I can hook up here, and I can start operating if I can hook up the control head. The FTM 6000 uses a little different cable. It's a little wider and it doesn't fit. I don't know if that's a Cat 5, Cat 6, I don't know. I got this set up so that the battery cables are just right here, so I can just run them off batteries for now. I am thinking in the future that I could run a dedicated circuit up here, like a 30 amp circuit to a power distribution block here that could power either radio or both of them at the same time. And I could run them, then they'd be running off the main RV batteries, and these batteries up here would just be charging. But for right now, as much as I operate in here, I'm just going to run it off the batteries sitting right here. And I might just leave it that way. We'll see. So for the antennas, that's probably something you're wondering. So what I'm thinking is for the UHF VHF antenna, taking the shorter run, I'm going to go into this cabinet and right up to the top, and I'm going to go out the side wall of the RV right at the top, and I've got one of those mirror mounts that I'm going to attach to the side of the RV that the antenna can just bolt right on there and go up. And then this closet right here behind me runs the full length of the nose. For the HF antenna, I'm planning on running the coax all the way along there, and I'll have it go out the other side. So it'll have the longer run, and then the UHF VHF, the more lossy UHF VHF, can go up this way. And either I have a cheap cable that, you know, we minimize the losses by keeping it short, or I spend a little money on a cable and keep the losses down that way. Either way, I want it short. So I like having this antenna going right out here, just at the very top of the wall, just inside the cabinet. And I can go through right here, maybe have two connectors right there that they'll run up to the top and then go to the outside. And then all I have to do is hook up an antenna out there. But the long-term plan for HF, or the short-term plan for HF, is I'm going to run it up here first. And I've got the ATOS 120A on the way. I'm so excited. I've been wanting to buy this for a year, and I finally got it done. And that's what I'm going to do for the FT891. Or when I get to a big site like what we're at now, I can have the DX Commander set up out there and just run the coax up to the connector, and just go that way and leave the the ATOS 120 on the truck and use it mobile. But you know, when we travel, I'll have it on the truck. When we set up camp, I'll move it to the RV. And then when we get to spots where I don't have a whole lot of room, maybe it's an RV park where we're parked in kind of tight, we don't have a lot of space, and I can't put up a vertical with a lot of radials or run along horizontal wire, then I've still got a solid option that I can run on every band. And I can even run UHF VHF off that antenna too. So maybe it's a matter of having an antenna switch here somewhere that can go between the two radios. So I could monitor either or. I'd rather monitor both though, wouldn't you? At the same time. So that's what we're going to do going forward. That's the antennas. We're going to add a couple screens. I'm going to put a shelf in, I think, about this height, that I will, my little handhelds will stand here like soldiers in a row and go right behind these radios. And I think I'm going to put in a little round piece of shelving right here, so I can have a surface here to set stuff. That's dangerous for us, as I've explained, but I think I'm gonna need that. We've got an Alexa, our little spy device that sits right there. My wife has had a charger for her watch, her Apple Watch, that sat on this. She can keep that there, you know, if she can't find any other better place to put it. And if I bring out like my logging laptop, I can set it right here. Or if I bring out my extra little portable screen, maybe I could set it up right there and hook it up to the laptop. But that's it for now. First step is done. I'm Mike, Kilo Echo Zero, Victor India Mike. This is the Travelin Ham. This is phase 1. We'll see you for phase 2. Okay, folks, here's the deal. I'm at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. This is gonna be a special, one of the most intense trails. This is the operating station. That's a bear.
Wow. Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
The traveler has
I just do things.
He was a huge, beastly, bulging man. Plates were from Kansas.